guys, and welcome to my video on the matchup LSD against RMD from the Lock's point of view. RMD is one of the most popular and strongest comps in the game currently. A lot of people run it, and in my opinion is the best ladder comp. The opener is always extremely fast paced, and you'll have to deal with crazy bursts not only in the opener, but throughout the match. On top of this, RMD is extremely difficult to kill if they play defensively. In this video, I'll go over the talents you need to be using, what to look out for, as well as what to expect so that you can deal with the opener and eventually secure a kill. So firstly, I'm going to go over the talents we should be using. As a Warlock, you should be picking up Unbound Will and Shadow Fury. Unbound Will is amazing for peeling Mage Rogue openers. Everything else is pretty standard. For the Shaman, Earth Grab is amazing for assisting with kiting rogues, since it's susceptible to roots. Your Shaman should also use Ancestral Swiftness, aka NS, to land easy hexes on the mage when you need peels. And lastly, for the Druid, Mass Entanglement should be used, since roots are very strong against rogues. The Druid should also be playing Bash and Soul of the Forest. Giving Symbiosis to the Shaman is better, since Solar Beam is amazing for shutting down either the mage or Druid. Next, I'm going to go over some general strategies. You'll learn about what each team's main objective is in the game. LSDs like to attack the mage or druid. Rogues are very hard to kill, especially if they're playing defensively and have cloak available. You should try to only attack the rogue if he's the only target close by, unless he doesn't have cloak. The main goal is to survive their opener, which is the scariest part of the matchup. Getting a kill afterwards normally isn't too hard. Your opponents, the RMD, are looking to attack your Elemental Shaman. LE Shamans are very prone to dying to rogue mage teams, and RMD has a ton of instant CC for your druid. RMDs will also nearly always pop most, if not all, offensive cooldowns in the opener and try to get a quick gib. Once the game has started, it's much harder for the RMD to set a kill up, so the opener is where they try to force as many cooldowns as possible or get a kill. The Warlock and Druid aren't very good targets unless caught off guard. Both are much tankier and much more slippery. Just before I show a few games, I want to talk about a few very important things that you need to look out for. Rogues and mages can do obscene amounts of damage if they have their procs and cooldowns lined up. The main rogue offensive cooldowns are Dance and Blades, and for mages, Orb, Icy Veins, and Alter Time. When these are used, it's extremely scary times and you need to spam peel for it. Some other things you should look out for are Tricks of the Trade from the rogue, and that makes the mage deal 15% more damage for 6 seconds. Also, Presence of Mind, aka Palm, from the mage, which you'll often use on a ring or poly to CC your healer. Lastly, look out for the Soul of the Forest buff on druids. This often means that they want to cyclone something, and if you're able to stop it, it's very good for your team. I'm now going to show a few clips against an RMD so you can see how we handle the opener and turn it around to get a kill. Make sure in the opener you don't let the Druid cyclone or the mage cast polymorph for free on someone on your team. The Druid was cycloning me here, and the reason why I didn't spell lock it is because with my ping, which is around 250, it's very hard to actually land the spell lock on the cast if they do it out of stealth. It didn't matter anyway since I line of sighted the cyclone. This game they decided to attack our Druid instead of our Elemental Shaman, which is really good for us because the Druid is harder to kill for sure. As I said in the opener, it's the most scary part of the game. That's when they're going to be popping all their offensive cooldowns. Like you can see, he has Frozen Orb out, Icy Veins, and the rogue is Cloak of Shadows. So since they're using some big cooldowns to attack our druid, you need to spam peel as much as you can. Since the rogue has used Cloak, you need to spam peel the mage, so just concentrate on spam freeing the mage on the opener if this happens. One thing you need to look out for is, when rogue mages open like this, the rogue will often cloak the opener and then the mage will ice block, and he's using the ice block glyph, so it makes him immune to spells for the next 3 seconds when he exits the ice block. This makes the opener very scary since none of them are peelable. When playing with a druid, remember the only way the druid should die is if he is caught in a stun or silence without bark skin available. That's the most scary time because druids take a ton of damage if bark skin isn't available, and my druid Soda had to use bark skin in the opener just then. So the next time they open on him with full stun and silence, you'll have to trinket one of those and he could still be in a lot of trouble. So now I just want to skip to the moment where they reopen on my druid without bark skin available. What's really scary is the rogue corroded him and then put him into a blind, and then after that a full ring of frost. So at the end of this, all the DRs are going to be reset. Fortunately for us, the rogue DR'd his Garrote, and Soda, thinking it was full, actually trinketed that. And then he got put into a full kidney shot, And with this, he didn't have Bark Skin available, so this is when he's in a lot of trouble. He has no trinket, no skin, and he's in a full stun. Seeing this happen, I trinketed a clone instantly, seeing as Taub is also in the sheep. So if this scenario comes up, you need to spam Fury as much as you can once you've used Shadow Fury and Blanket CS. I choose to fear the Rogue because I figured by now the mage has already used all his procs, so the Rogue is the one who's going to be doing more damage. Once Soda leaves the stun, if he lives, he should be fine since he'll be DR'd for stuns and silences. So pretty much, this is when you can go offensive. The Rogue and mage has used a bunch of their offensive cooldowns, and Soda will have skin for the next stun or silence that hits him. This is when you should look towards getting fears on an enemy druid. Also, knowing that the Rogue used Cloak in the opener offensively, this means that the Rogue is a really good target for us to hit, and Taub hexes the mage. It's normally better to just hex the mage in cooldown with UA cover, rather than hexing the druid, since the mage can decurse it and it's harder to cover it that way. This is also another hard thing about fighting rogue mage druid, is that if their opener doesn't go too well and they're not able to get a kill, they'll run away until they have dance and orb available, and then they'll come out again. To counteract this, as long as you have cooldowns, you should try to push in and just chase the mage around, since he's the best target if the rogue has cloak, which has to come back up. Try to get as many Shadow Fury houses as you can, and never let the rogue re-stealth. When a rogue mage druid does this, be careful and be aware of when they have dance and frozen orb available again, and aside from that, just try and keep pressuring the druid as much as possible. The best person to just control and interrupt is the druid, because if you're able to do this, he's just going to fall further and further behind, and against LSD, the rogue and mage will start rotting, and then eventually you'll get to force a cooldown or get a kill. So a good way to do this is get stuns on the druid, into fears, and then into clones. So from that cap stun into a fear, we were able to force ice block from the druid. So the druid has no more CC breaks, he has no trinket, has no ice block, however we still need to get the rogue's cloak or the mage's ice blocks. However, now that the druid's ice block is gone, the druid is also a very valid target, so you should also dot him up. Also, one thing that's very important is, even though it exposes your druid, he needs to come up and play offensively with you, otherwise it'll be impossible to ever land a kill. LSD is a comp that's really good at pressuring druids. If you're able to play on top of a druid and hit him every time he comes into line of sight, they're going to fall so far behind, and on top of that you have a bunch of CC for him. The reason why we go for the druid this game is because the mage has 2 blocks again, the rogue still has cloak, and the druid has no trinket or ice block, so he's the easiest target for us to kill right now. So chasing him around the pillar and just spam interrupting and controlling him is the best thing to do in this situation. Druids can't keep up with this if they're getting hit and have to heal their teammates as well. One thing to remember against rogue mage is that if you don't have trinket, you can easily die in a dance orb bomb. I get opened on here by the rogue, and the mage uses frozen orb on me and the rogue uses dance. So this is the majority of their offensive cooldowns, and I'm in a lot of trouble because I don't have trinket, but I do have my healing cooldowns. That was a mistake on my part, but fortunately for us, the mage only has tricks and his engineering gloves procced, and he doesn't have his PvP proc trinket or his tailoring, so I'm not going to be taking that much damage. Remember, the only reason why rogue mage does crazy damage is when they have a bunch of procs up. If they do have their procs up, they're going to do absolutely crazy damage and you probably die nearly instantly, but if they don't have them up immediately, then you won't take that much damage and you can probably sit some of the stuns. However, it's really good that they went for me because they used a bunch of offensive cooldowns into me, and for the next one I'll have trinket for it, so I can just trinket port and I'll be completely out of trouble. Also, when rogues and mages use their offensive cooldowns like dance and orb, they won't be doing much damage for the next minute until they back up. So make sure that you use that time in between to do as much damage as you can and try to force as much offensive cooldowns as possible. Fortunately for us, the rogue used cloak in that attempt to kill me, so he's vulnerable for the next minute. It's very important to recognize when the rogue cloaks, because if he uses it offensively, he's going to be one of the best targets for you. So we're able to follow up with a CC chain on the druid and just chase the rogue down and get a kill on him. In this game, they went for our druid and me instead of going for our Ellie shaman, and I think that's a mistake on that part, and the only reason Soda came close to dying was because he pretty much made a big mistake on his trinket. Okay, in this next game, they attack our Ellie shaman, which is the best strategy for them to do. So in this clip I'll show you how we handle RMD openers and how to destroy it. Make sure that you rain of fire in the opener just where you think they'll be, because if you can pop them out it means that you won't get sapped and hopefully your team is able to get in combat as well. So with the rogue and mage opening on Taub, we need to start peeling immediately. Even if they haven't used their offensive cooldowns, it's still good to peel because it means that you're able to get pressure, and also it means that their proc trinkets are going to fall off while they're CC'd. However, we know that they haven't used their offensive cooldowns yet, so make sure when they both use them, you need to be ready. As soon as possible, just spam fears and just peel it. This game they decide to go on a druid, but I immediately land a Halaterra on both of them. So I'm just going to pause the clip right here, and as you can see, the rogue has used Dance 3 seconds ago, and the mage has Icy Veins, proc Drink It Up, Incanna's Ward, has a proc, his Engineering Gloves, and the Frozen Orb out. So if you don't spam peel this, your druid is just going to instantly die through every single cooldown. Half the game against RMD is just recognizing when they have damage and when you have to peel for it. So remember, as soon as these cooldowns go up, it's just a big red warning light that you just need to spam peel as much as you can. And fortunately for us, we were able to completely shut down the mage. He didn't even get to use the global and all of that. So we're completely fine, and that's the majority of the offensive cooldowns gone. As I said in the previous clip, it's very good to attack the druid if you can, because if you're able to pressure him, he has to pull back as well. And an RMD without the druid healer helping out offensively makes the game so much easier for you. As I said, recognizing what the rogue mage wants to do is very important, so my druid being in a pump poly here means that they want to go hard on someone else, which in this case is the Ellie Shaman. So when they attack your Ellie Shaman and your druid CC'd, it's up to you to peel the DPS and also not get CC'd by the druid yourself. As you can see where I'm positioned, I'm behind the tiger statue and the druid can't even get anywhere near me for a cyclone. So Talb's at about 50% HP and his NG hasn't proc just yet, so I know he's going to be safe still. This is why I go for the fear on the druid, which is kind of questionable since I could have peeled the DPS still, and Soda was in a full blind. So in this situation I probably should have just peeled the DPS and just be extra safe. But if you're able to get fears on the druid, it just makes the end go quicker for both teams. The rogue saps, but the mage overlaps his D-freeze over it, and this is the only time we're going to be in trouble, aside from their offensive cooldowns, is when Soda CC'd and they're attacking our elemental shaman. However, it's really good that we're able to survive this because we haven't used any trinkets from that, and they've used Palm Sheep and Blind, which is two of the biggest instant CCs. So at this point of the game, they're going to have Dance in 10 seconds, and along with that, Frozen Orb is going to come back up. So in about 10 seconds, we need to prepare for that next round of burst, but after that, we'll have a whole minute to do whatever we want and get some offensive pressure going. Fortunately for us, the rogue actually used Cloak when he was trying to kill Talb earlier when he blinded the druid, and I feared him, and fortunately for us, paths him to a really bad spot away from his druid. So that actually turned out really nice for us because we were able to get the rogue's bomb since he was so far away from his druid. I'm just going to speed up the clips here since the RMD is starting to pull back and run away, and there's not much to show. So remember that when you push in, you need to have your druid help out as well, but we still know that they have Dance and Frozen Orb available again, so we don't want to ever extend. Right here, the RMG comes out again, and they're ready to use his Dance and Frozen Orb, and they decide to go on my druid Soda again. However, I think this is a big mistake from their part, because they have to force the Bark Skin before they can really kill him. And it's very hard to force Bark Skin without using Frozen Orb or Shadow Dance. However, when they're open, just make sure you spam peel everything. Like there, I stunned them, and then I feared the mage a couple of times, and then swapped the fears to the rogue. And the mage didn't even get his time to use his Frozen Orb, but since the rogue already used Dance in that swap, it's not that scary for us, because they need both of them to use their offensive cooldowns for the swap to be really that scary. Once again, once the RMD uses their offensive cooldowns, they start to pull back a little, and we need to be a tiny bit careful since the mage still has Frozen Orb, but when they're pulling back like this, like I said, just try and get on top of the druid, just keep chasing him down. So if they use their orb before Dance comes back up, the target that you need to peel is the mage, since when he's using Frozen Orb he's going to do a ton more damage, and the rogue without Dance won't be doing that much. So when they pop their orb on Talb, I spam fear the mage and just never let him do anything. This swap is really good for us because Dance and Frozen Orb aren't synced up on cooldowns again, and on top of this, we didn't really have to use much for that swap at all. It also means that for the next minute, we're free to do whatever we want and just chase the druid and pressure him. So in this scenario, the druid still has Trinket, so just trying to get as much CC as him and trying to force his Trinkets and Ice Block from CC so that we're able to kill him, and in the meantime, we're just attacking the mage, since the rogue still has Cloak. As you can see, Soda's very pushed in with us and helping us out and getting CC on the druid, and that is so important. I want to repeat this one more time, just reassessing the game and knowing when they have their offensive cooldowns. So the rogue has Dance available right now, but the mage does not have Frozen Orb, and he goes for a Palm Poly on our druid. So offensively for them, that was a really bad Palm Poly, because all they can do is use the rogue to Dance, so they won't be doing that much damage. Still, Soda trinkets it just to stay offensive, and it's kind of questionable because it's not as safe, but it does help us get the mage to block. From that trinket by Soda, we're able to CC the druid for a while, and because of this, the mage is still really low, the rogue's rotting to dots, and the druid is just sitting a bunch of CC. Typically it'd be pretty bad to trinket it offensively as LSD, but it works out in the end because we get so much pressure from it. So even though the RMD still has their offensive cooldowns, Frozen Orbs back up and Shadow Dance is still back up from before, they still have to run because they're under so much pressure due to that CC chain that Soda did on the Druid. Also, make sure when you chase the Druid that you CC him effectively with Fears and Clones, so you don't waste any DRs. Aside from that, just keep on pushing in on the Druid and just running on top of him and keeping them low and CCing him. Fortunately for me, I get a Halaterra on the Rogue immediately on his dance, and it's really good for us, but that was quite lucky and unintentional. Again, now that the Rogue is using Shadow Dance, only the Mage has Frozen Orb, and so we can just run at the Druid again for another whole minute. And Talb lands a Cap Totem on the Druid here, and with that we're able to force his Ice Block. So now the Druid doesn't have Block or Trinket anymore, and then once again, he becomes a really good target. Against an RMD, it's very hard to kill them when they're running away and playing defensively like this. The Rogue also does a questionable cloak when he's attacking Soda, who's at 90%, so the Rogue's also a viable target. However, our main goal at this point is just to keep them low, and the best way to keep them low is just by chasing the Druid. So once again, the Rogue doesn't have Dance, but the Mage orbs Talb, so it's not that scary for us. It could be a lot more damage from them, but once again, since it's a Mage using damage with Frozen Orb, it's best to just peel the Mage. Also really important is when a Druid blinks in for Disorienting Roar, it means that he's usually trying to Cyclone someone, so be ready to CS the next Cyclone as soon as you can. The Rogue also used Blades there, so that's why the damage was higher than normal, but it doesn't really matter because we still have a bunch of cooldowns to counteract that. Soda uses NS and we still have Healing Tide, so even though Talb's HP dropped pretty low, we weren't really in that much danger of dying at all. So when I realized the Rogue used Blades, I went for a free on him as soon as I could. Another thing that's really important against RMD is to never let the Druid do what he wants. If he's able to play really offensively while the Rogue and Mage are using cooldowns on someone, it's going to be so hard for you guys to catch back up and recover. For the most part, it's up to you as the Warlock to stop the Druid from doing what he wants, since they'll be attacking your Elite Shaman, and the Druid will be the one who mainly focuses CCs on you. So as I said, again, it's very important to recognize when they have cooldowns. The Rogue doesn't have Blades or Dance, and the Mage doesn't have Frozen Orb, and on top of that, there's no CC on Soda. So I'm able to sit this Kidney Shot swap, and not use any cooldowns. I still have Trinket and Heals available, and it's very important that I'm able to save this, because if I don't save it here and I use it, I can die in a bomb later on without my healer being able to do anything. So again, they have Frozen Orb and Shadow Dance available, and with a Palm Poly onto Soda, they attack my Elite Shaman Talb. The reason why I feared the Druid first is because I have a stun for the Rogue, which I unfortunately miss, and I don't want the Druid to either clone me or Soda, since I don't want to have to use my Trinket to peel, otherwise I could die. However, we're not in that much danger because I can still spam fear both DPS, and the Druid was unable to do anything, and on top of that, we still had cooldowns that we could use. So now that Soda is not in any CC, we should be able to recover, and I can still fear the DPS if I need to, but instead I go offensive. Talb's at 50%, but he does have Iron Bark on him, and he's still in the Mushroom, so he's not in too much trouble, and Soda still has Trinket for the Rogue's Blind here. So once again, I know that I'm repeating it a lot, is once they've used the Dance and Frozen Orb, you can go offensive and just do whatever you want, just play really aggressively. And the Druid gets caught into a cap stun there, he doesn't have Trinket, he doesn't have Ice Block from before, and fortunately for us, he's able to go down here with me spam fearing him, so he can't heal himself. So that's it for the 2 games against RMD, and typically RMD games are really long because it's really beneficial for Rogue Mage teams to just run away once they've used Orb and Dance, and just wait for it to come back up. So getting a kill can be really hard, but just remember, the best thing to do is just play really defensively in the opener, just peel the opener, and every time they have Dance and Orb available again, get ready to peel again, and to get a kill, chase the Druid around, CC him as much as you can, and just hit whatever you really can. Preferably not the Rogue unless he doesn't have Cloak. That's it for my guide on LSD against RMD. RMD is a really hard comp to deal with, so hopefully you're able to take something from this video to beat one. If you have any questions, please leave them below in the comment section and I'll get back to you. See ya.